Well, here we are again, Albert. You're in 45-degree humidity, and I'm freezing down here in the island state of Tasmania, right? So, in different parts of the world, yeah, you're up in
Yeah,
Jakarta, Indonesia, and I'm in Tasmania, Australia. And good
yeah,
to have everyone join us that wants to get a different take on risk and how it's evolving. And we're going to set that up in a
yeah,
moment because it's a
sure.
topic that doesn't get the love and the attention that it needs to, and it really
Yes.
does. We are in changing times, and emerging gaps and threats and risk is part of that. So we're going to set
True.
the session up. It's going to be a two-part learning experience that we're going to bring today, but we'll set that up for you in a minute. But before we get there, for those that don't know us, Albert, do you want to kick it off and just tell us, who you are, your name in full, and I mean, you've had a pretty extensive career, but your current focus at the moment?
Yeah, thank you, Ali. So, thanks again for the opportunity to have these discussions for our communities. My name is Albert Oktovianus. You can call me Albert, Al, or Okto even for my Japanese friends, Okuto. I come from Indonesia, especially now I'm staying in Jakarta.
Mm-hmm.
My work involves mostly on around the change management, HR technology, HR advisory, and consulting. I've been doing like change management around I think around 20 years now. And then I'm in the consulting business around 11 years now. And
Mm-hmm.
then but also I have backgrounds in industrial engineering. So I tinker a bit around in quality management.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and also in business process improvement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
lots
that's
of
my
value, interconnected talent there as well too. So
yes.
yeah, which is really important. I'm Ali Ren, founder of Kickstart. Kickstart was created, I started in my industry 18 years ago, and have evolved Kickstart into now being a circular workplace. So we know
Yes.
about the circular economy, but the circular workplace is for purpose-led leaders and teams that want to manage and capture the unique IP of their teams
Yeah.
and embed it into real human and commercial impact and outcomes in real time. So um, being able to manage and respond to risk differently,
Mm,
creatively,
mm.
is a key part of that approach and of its success over the last 18 years out in the field.
Yeah.
So we're going to come from a different perspective today. We just set up what we're going to be looking at, and then we're going to get straight into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I suppose a lot of people don't know that while Kickstart and the circular workplace is a key part of my reason for being in focus, what I'm
Mm.
taking out into the world, I also facilitate and lecture in risk at diploma level here in Australia. So I
Nice.
work with organisations that are undertaking accredited learning and development in a number of different diploma qualifications, and an
Yeah.
element of that is managed risk. So I come from a sort of formal accredited learning and development perspective, but
Mm.
also an entrepreneurial take on how to see risk differently through my
Yeah.
own IP that I've created with Kickstart. So it is
That's
a
great.
different, and I think a really good connected space to be, because I'm
Yes.
filling gaps and seeing perspectives that other people don't get to see. So we're going to be
Yeah.
able to share
Yeah.
that with the community today as well too.
Sure,
So
sure, sure.
let's jump into it, shall we? So what are we
Let's
going to
go.
look at?
Let's go.
So it's two parts. So today we're going to start with defining what gaps, threats, and risks are, so that we're
Yeah.
all on the same page. Because if
Yeah.
you're not familiar with it, it can get a little bit murky and it can cross
Yes.
over. So let's get clear on what they are and have an agreement around that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
then going to talk about how risk is changing in organisations and what it looks like. And so we're going to unpack, in the time we have, some of the
Yes.
key emergent risks that maybe leaders are not, I would say, a lot of the time aware of, yeah, and being cognizant of, but they need
Mm.
to be now.
Mm.
And they're coming up, and then it's going to be requiring more focus, yeah? And
Mm.
then we're going to look at, well, who's responsible then? Once we know what this is, then whose responsibility is modern day risk identification, management, that whole end-to-end process. And it's not what we
Mm.
probably think it's going to be either,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So it's not the usual suspects. That's what I want to say around that, okay?
Okay. Yeah.
So Albert, I want to come back to some facts that you shared in a post not that long ago from the Australian Institute of HR. Remember, you
Mm.
shared the top 15 new skills that HR managers need to have.
Ah,
It's like,
yes.
where is this woman going with this? Well, this is where I'm going, right? And I want to just highlight a couple of stats from that, because it will set the scene for the learning today and the next video that we're going to do. Now, I really would like to be clear, though, that this is not just about HR having to take responsibility for risk, right? Or the WH, the Work Health and Safety teams or committees. No, no, no. This is everyone's responsibility. Right?
Yes.
And everyone, leaders, if you are in a team and you work with humans and you're part of delivering on outcomes and impacts for the business, then you are in the business of risk management.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to challenge people's perspective that, well, who owns this, right? Everyone needs to own it as well too. So in that post that you shared a couple of weeks ago, it noted, well, the Australian Institute of HR noted a couple of key things I want to just highlight because they're relevant. First is that risk management came in at number 2 of the top 15 risks or skills that managers are going to need to have. 2 out of 15, right? So we had some of the usual suspects in the mix there, I think critical thinking and so forth. But risk management at number 2.
Yeah.
Tells a story, doesn't it, right?
Yeah.
That what is happening there. And that was even before, that was after, before you were, well, after I think you and I had that conversation, right?
Yeah.
So it also noted in that post that Deloitte did a survey identifying that managing new risk was a priority for 61% of organisations.
Yes.
Yeah, do you remember that stat? So I've pulled out some of the key points that I want people to think of, right?
Yeah, thank you for the quotes. It reminds
hey,
me.
does that help you now? Look. No, I threw that one at you, right? I do my homework. No. So top 2 out of the top 15 new skills that managers are going to need to have. I think it's everyone who's alive in a business is going to need to have it. And 61% of organisations are identifying that risk management is a priority. There are other articles from that I think are worth putting some context around as well too before we start today. And that is the need for management and, of course, in their teams to move from when things go wrong, when risks become reality, to move from a, well, what happened perspective to more of a, well, what do you think is going to happen and how can we prepare for that? How can we mitigate it? If we can't remove it, then how do we mitigate it? Yeah. And so more than looking in retrospect when it's gone wrong, forward thinking. Yeah, being able to actually start to scenario plan, but really think from an operation, in a practical sense. What are we able to do? What is coming our way? What's new and emergent, right? So I think, that's my space I've been in for 18 years. I'm glad the world's catching up. But we do need to have a different conversation around how we think about it. Yeah?
Sure.
So let's start, if we start on some definitions and then I'll throw it. And I suppose I want to throw to you before we do. I know that this subject is not always sexy, right? It's not always an easy one, right? It's always people want to avoid it and talk about marketing or something, right? Like, and I get it, marketing matters, but you won't have much to market if you don't get this side right too, yeah? So why do you think it's important, if I can just ask you before we get to definitions, why do we need to invest in having this conversation and building this talent in our teams? Why does it matter?
Okay, so that's the $2 million questions, I think. Why is it better, right? I mean, is that critical? Not only important, but it's that critical that we have this kind of conversation, right? Even me, I mean, before that, I have to shout out that the number 1 skills needed from the 15 is the change management.
Yeah. What was it?
Change management.
Good on you. No, but that's
yeah, I have to shout out. I have to shout out for that, right?
No, you do that.
And then continue on. So why I mentioned criticals, right? We have this conversation. Like you said, this is not like a very hot topic, mainstream topic, right? Or sexy topic to discuss, especially in the space of HR connected to business, right? Because I'm glad that you call out that when we're going to discuss this further, there won't be maybe not the usual culprit that we're going to discuss about responsible, because this is everyone's responsible, even me. But for me, I started to understand about risk that like I mentioned before, because I have a background in the industrial engineer, right? And you have to do the quality managements across the board. And that's how I understand a little bit about the risk. But then I came into a financial industry And that's exactly where I have to certify in in risk
Yes.
management. So I understand more and how to calculate into the business side, so in the HR and business side. Sorry. But back again, when you mentioned why this is very critical, because the impact, right? I mean, the risk is, yes, it's, you have to have the risk management as a standard, right? It's part of the governance also, right? Good corporate governance.
Yes.
But what happened that you said that if I don't have it, so it's not about like why is it so important to have the conversation, but let's switch, flip the script. What will happen if we don't have this conversation?
Yes. Yes.
You know, what are the impacts?
Yep.
Because the impact is not only that about you're being penalized by the governments.
No.
Government. No, that's one part of the impact, right?
Correct.
You're not comply or everything else.
Yes.
But the other part is like the long-term ones, right? I mean, you're seeking brand, brand company brand damage, right? And then you also looking at something more deeper, like you're losing your talents, even without even without the economy disrupting bad enough with your company, right? And the people are leaving. I think this is also something you discuss also in your post.
Yes, we're coming. We
right?
are.
Yeah,
We're going
yeah,
that today.
yeah. And then the last one is also like after you losing them, you're losing your talent, you're losing your human resources, you cannot get them back because you didn't manage the risk good enough. I mean, this is only like a small portion, but very critical one.
I understand. And look, like I said, we've got a short amount of time.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's not going to be the last time we talk about it, but it's
sure.
starting to get people thinking differently about it too,
Yes,
right? So we're going to come back to some of the key ones today that we see. And I don't think it's going to be the last time that we have the conversation, because it can't. Right? Like we have lots going on. So let's come back. Thank you, Albert. Let's come back to definitions, of the three key elements. So the first one, when I talk about gaps, I'm talking about capability gaps and capacity gaps, right? So capability, you and I have had that conversation before in that video, which we might repurpose again, I think, because it would be worthwhile for people to connect with that. So capability is obviously expertise, skills, knowledge, experiences, right? My talent, my ability to deliver on it, where the capacity is around resources, technology, infrastructure, time, that whole bit. So threats, and this is where people get a little bit confused with it. So threat is anything that can cause harm or loss to people, clients, teams, and so on, right? So it's anything that's got the potential. The risk is the consequence in the impact if the threat was to become reality, right? So I always start when I'm facilitating, whether or not it's through, this space, in the diploma, always starting with definitions. So as I said, the threats are what is there that can cause the harm, and the risk is, hey, if this becomes reality, this will be the consequence and the impact. And I think that's an important point, and it goes back to what you said before around, well, what is the outcome then if we don't manage this, identify it, and be able to mitigate it as a whole of teams, not just siloed departments. So let me understand how, and I think it's an important part before we do talk through some of those key risks that we need to start to think about. How is risk seen then, right? So let's have a look, because we come from different cultures. We are connected as countries, but there are, cultural nuances in Australia and Indonesia. Now, so when you think about risk, how do you think organisations, and of course that can include government, but how are we traditionally thinking about the risks in our organisations at the moment? How do we normally define them?
Wow, you're loaded with heavy questions today, Alice. I'm glad, right? Because talking about this is never easy, right?
No, but it's not. Do you know what I mean? Like, this takes deep thinking. It takes deep thinking, right? So, it's, and I see it because I get to facilitate this with lots of different industries. So do you want me to kick it off and then come back to you?
No. I mean, okay, let me, because I need to unload this in my brain because it's been
Yeah.
staying there so long, right? So, okay. First of all, what I see in my experience as a consultant also, and also working as a user, right, in the corporations,
Yeah.
sometimes risks are seen like risk is equal compliance, right?
Yes. Yes.
Although it's like two different things. Uh, why? Because as long as you comply with the government regulation, everything else, then you manage the risk. But it's much more than that, right? I think you
Correct.
know about this also, right? And it's not only on the government regulations part,
No.
but also on the employer and the employee side.
100%.
For the employee saying that, oh, as long as I comply to my boss, to my superior, everything is okay. I avoided the risk, right?
Mm.
As long and the employer said, as long as I comply with the government's regulations, and I think everything's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's it. Compliance is one thing, right? I know the government is creating a guidelines for you to comply so you can manage your risk, but it has to become. I mean, that's more like maybe if I can say passive kind of things,
Yes.
but risk management is an active kind of thing. It's
Yes.
proactive, right?
100%.
So that's why that's one of the things, and also the second one is like in risk. I think also there's what we call something like a whistleblower, right? Like a whistleblower. And then it's not that common, unfortunately, here
Mm-hmm.
in Asia,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes they tend to just sweep the trigger under the rug and
Yes.
and then cover it up, everything else. I mean, I'm not saying that all the companies did it, but some of the companies that happenings,
Yeah.
happenings in the news lately
Yeah.
is doing that. I mean, you can see just the Indonesian startups, some of the big names
Mm-hmm.
are crumbling down
Mm-hmm.
because first of all, they seem to follow to comply with the regulations,
Yeah.
but inside, something is brewing until they got found out, they got caught. So again, risk is much more than just compliance. It's also
Yes.
like good corporate governance. Is becoming proactive, managing the internal process, everything else. So
Mm-hmm. I'm just making
it's
some
much more
notes
than that.
here because I want to come
Yeah,
back to these as
yeah,
well. They're
yeah,
great
yeah, yeah.
points. I think you make, you didn't say it in these words, so if I'm misinterpreting it, let me know. But I think
Mm.
there is also an element of performative risk management as well too, right? Where it's a lot for
Yes,
show, right?
yeah,
Where it
like a
looks good, it looks
checklist.
correct, like a checklist, right? Like on the surface, we're doing everything right, but
Yeah.
don't look over here because there's a
Mm,
whole lot of other threats and risk that's about to blow
mm,
open as well too.
mm,
Yeah.
mm.
And I think that the proactiveness comes back to our comments right at the beginning of today, that
Yes.
it's not about just doing a retrospective. It's about planning ahead of time, which requires us to actually design different organizations and
Yeah.
relationships too, right? So we're going to go there in a minute. I think from my point of view, before we start to break down some of these key risks, and thank you for that,
Mm,
Albert. And I know I'm throwing, big meaty questions because this does require big thinking too, right? And us to sit with that too and
mm,
understand what that means. And for me in Australia, and I see it because I work out in the field a lot, and I can't say all, but a lot of employers are still seeing risk as physical injury, which you
mm,
alluded to before. Yeah. So, don't cut your
mm.
hand off and don't put your back out and whatever. But as we know, with the change of the types of industry and manufacturing and how we make things in our industry, just the very nature, the changing nature of industry, it's no longer physical risk. It's
Mm.
now mental risk,
Mental
right?
risk.
It's now psychosocial hazards. I did a video last year, which maybe I'll post around and re-put it out again, that in the last 10 years, and I just want to give this stat before we move
Mm,
on,
mm,
it will stop you in your tracks. In the last 10 years in Australia, we have had a 760% increase in permanent disability claims for mental illness. So that means permanent
mm.
disability means that you have suffered an injury, either through bullying, harassment, and so forth, where now you are
Yeah.
unable to work again. Now that is huge, right? That needs to be getting attention, because that means, guess what that means? And these are people in their 30s and 40s, Albert. It shouldn't,
Yeah.
regardless of age, it shouldn't happen, right? But so we as a
Yeah.
nation, and we can't be the only one, but we are losing, as you said, talented people. People that, and then when they don't work and they're not connected, that affects families, right? So there's a financial, social cost to this. That's not
Yeah.
just about the individual, but broader, bigger to the country,
Yes.
bigger to the
Yeah.
community, right? Like
Yeah.
we don't even have
Yeah.
the skills
Yeah.
we need, yeah,
Yeah.
to even deliver what this country will need moving
Yeah.
forward,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're losing great people because of creating environments that are just not designed for people to be well.
Oh,
Is that not an
yeah.
incredible stat?
Yeah.
Wow. Do you know
That's
what I mean? Like, what a stat. I've done a video and I'm going to repurpose it because trust me, it needs to get out there. It needs to be out there. We need to understand that what's
yeah.
happening now, and I have worked with people in workers' compensation as well too. And what I saw in that time was that the decrease of physical injury and more the mental injury.
Mm-hmm.
So these are things that I am seeing both in a professional capacity, but through a broader, social lens as well too. So I can't stress this enough, that one of the biggest risks that people are going to face and leaders are going to face, and we have legislation here now where directors are also accountable and managers are accountable for not following the law around
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they know it's an issue and they are stepping it up. So we could do and get lots of experts in that space to come and talk about that. But I just want leaders to be aware that this is not about so much the physical injury anymore. This is what's happening between people's ears and how the impact of it's having on them. So
Yeah.
let's just put that there because it relates to some of the other risks that we want to talk through here. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, we only have so much time in the video today, but we will come back. We will come back. So one of the key emerging risks, the first one I want to talk about today, is the fact that we organisations are going to be facing, if not already, a world of pain because of a lack of proper, robust succession planning. Yeah. And you made a great point about incomplete career journeys as well, right? So what we see is that we don't have any real robust learning and development function. And if you don't have any robust L&D function, then you can't have a robust, effective succession planning process. Yeah, I always say that. Stop talking about succession if you don't have your L&D in order. They're absolutely connected. Yeah. So what we're seeing is that there is this real obsession with leadership development. Yeah. All about leaders. But what that's doing is creating like this bottleneck. Yeah. Where the talent, the learning and development opportunities, the ability to grow is not spread across the business. It's not shared in a fair and equitable way. So again, there's a moral decision around that, but also a business decision. Yeah. So if you're only focusing on leaders, what do you think is going to happen when people leave? That's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
You have
Wow,
nothing to
that's
draw from, Albert. I mean, tell me, what are you thinking? I'm fired up today. I'm always fired up, but I'm particularly fired up about this because it's close to home. What do you think
yeah.
about what I've just said there? What's your perspective?
Leadership development, right? It's sometimes it's a two how you say, two blades in the same sword, right? I'm telling you, right? Like you said that, yeah, one of the risks that often overlooked is how we going to lose talents because leaders maybe not doing or not being characterized as the leaders, right? As a good leaders, so we're losing talents, and it increase the risk of losing the talents because we're not developing our leaders that have some a notion in it, right? A truth in it, right? That's why in like you mentioned that if you have a proper R&D processes in there and the framework of the proper R&D there, it will alleviate some of the risks, right? Especially for the leadership development. But On the other side, we have to see, again, like you said, that leadership development should entails across the board, across the business, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Because the problem is, Albert, right?
Yeah.
If you,
Yeah.
you don't just jump up in a, from a trainee or a graduate role to leader,
Yes.
right? Like you don't,
Yeah.
that just doesn't happen, right? Like there is a
Yes.
whole linear and, messy piece at times
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
that is a gradual process, that needs to
Agree.
happen. That is built on layers of
Yeah, I
development,
agree.
and I
That's it.
think when we're not looking at when those grads are coming through and at those people in those other roles, we are
Yes.
being very, very narrow-minded, right? Like our
Yeah.
focus, we're not spreading that risk, right? And we're not, and it's not just about risk, it's about developing people so they would also like to be able to stay with us, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't need people to stay forever because no one will stay forever, but we need to make sure that if people are here and we're in a relationship together here, that we are creating environments and relationships and conditions, where we are making the most and leveraging our relationship together, right? And, I think that what I see is that and L&D does have a fairness and equity issue where we're not looking at where the people are across the board, right? And so if we don't spread the development,
Yes.
we can't respond effectively to the gaps and the threats and the risks that are emerging, right? Because we're not involving people, which then will impact on business continuity. So succession planning, just to sit on this for a minute, is more than the individual, right? This is about taking
Yes.
it from a me mindset back out to the we that I talk a lot about too, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the L&D, as you mentioned before, can't sit with that individual. Otherwise, we lose all the intel and the IP when that person decides to leave, right? So succession planning has a far more strategic point to it, rather than just looking at the development of the individual. So that was the first risk that I wanted to flag. Is there anything you want to say on that before we move to the next one?
I just want to say that it's like succession planning should be coupled also with the career journey and career planning, right? Because people are often mistaken that this is the same thing.
Yeah.
It's actually different things. I always try to reiterate this whenever I have the chance. That succession planning is one thing because it shows that are you going to replace someone or you're going to be successor of someone, right? In the business. But career planning is regardless you becoming the successor or not, you're going to still be developed. I mean, just to ensure your career is sustainable in this company. Yeah,
absolutely.
right. So,
and I think that's a great point you make too.
Yeah.
That a career journey piece is incredibly important. And again, in the world in which we live in now too, with the emergence of AI, there's a lot of ambiguity. Some of it we have the answers to, and some of it we don't because it's still emerging. Yeah. But I think that's a whole other topic for us to talk about.
For sure.
And I know you've got a lot of great intel there. I'm like, I need another video. Give me another video. But this is just a taste. Start thinking, people.
Yeah.
So the next one I want to move to that I'm seeing and have written about recently and certainly seen in industry is how do we accurately assess so this is a risk, right? So with the emergence of AI, and there's a new term that just I've learned about in the last day called work slop, right? Which is basically like if you put in work slop, you're going to get a lot of articles coming out, right? But it comes to my point, and again, I wrote about it weeks ago, so before work slop came out, right? My crystal ball's working well, but around how will leaders be able to accurately assess and get a handle on and intel around what is the genuine talent and skill level of their people versus the machine, right? Because the risk no longer looks the same. I'm even seeing it, right, from not just out in the field, but from an assessment perspective, particularly within learning and development and accredited training, when we're seeing what learners are producing. And it would be fair to say, based on a number of different factors, that AI is playing its part. And without clear guardrails and responsible usage policies and agreement on that can really run away with itself too, right? And the reality is that the genie's not going back in the bottle. But if leaders don't have an accurate way to be able to understand and identify and assess the work that people are
mm,
producing, the
mm,
talent and the skill level and expertise that people have at any one time. These are some
mm,
things that I'm seeing, and I'm just going to throw back to you. Let me just unpack this. And
mm,
so this really links back to the role of AI as well. But
mm,
if we don't know how to do this and we don't have ways to do it, we then will get a skewed picture of the
mm,
capabilities of our people at any one
mm,
time, right? Which will
mm,
mean that we can't accurately also assess our investment in L&D, through return on skills, for example. And of course, if we don't fully understand
yeah.
the capabilities and the depth of our talent of our people, then really we make poor decisions, right? Like we make poor decisions
Mm,
around, how we utilize people, how we work together, how we're going to promote, how well equipped we are to respond to gaps and threats and emerging challenges and problems because we
yeah.
think our people are able to do something that they're not.
Yeah.
It's really high risk, right? And it is an area that I'm focusing more on. And I
Mm,
want people to start to think that there are consequences, right? There always is, right?
mm,
Like you said,
mm, mm.
double-edged blade, Albert.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
all of this efficiency and ability to free up time, will always, and it does, as I said, I've just mentioned a number of them, will throw these emerging
Mm.
gaps and risk, right? They're already here. And so for
Yes.
me, that's the second one that I see. There's many
Yes.
elements that fall under
Yes.
that, but I just want to put that second risk that I am seeing in a
Yeah.
number
Yeah.
of different capacities at the moment.
Yeah. Wow. That's another eye-opening facts, right?
Yeah, hey, it's very early for you, but you're going to need
Yeah,
to lie
yeah,
down.
yeah.
You're
No,
going to need to lie down after this, but that's
I,
why we're here. That's
I
why
don't need
we're here.
caffeine too much after this, right? Because it's just like firing up my brains now with you, and I'm glad that you share this, right?
Mm.
Okay, so work slump. I mean, I heard about that, but I'm not sure that it's something is derogatory marks or not for the
Yes.
work.
Yeah, I
But
know.
yeah, but anyway, it's happening. It's happening, right?
Yep.
Because again, like you said, it's there and the risk that comes with it, right? Again, because currently some of the country, even in Asia, in Southeast Asia, are developing AI, and maybe some already go into like more how to manage the risk from the usage of AI. Yes, and not only but from the technical sides,
Yes.
like the security, the privacy, and then the how going to use it in the work process. That's much more technical, like the right prompt for this company, the wrong
Yes.
prompt,
Correct.
right?
Technical
That's
difference.
technical part.
Mm.
But from the people side and from the risk of the people side, that's what you said.
Yes.
Like how many is many when using AI, right? That's one thing. Because I think also in my post the other day that I mentioned that even that if you're going to become addicted to AI, like just ask AI like, hey, where should I eat
Yeah,
today?
that was an interesting post.
Right? I
Mm.
mean,
Mm.
you
Yep.
have to think about it, right? I mean, I'm also addicted to maps because in Jakarta that you cannot go anywhere now without the maps because you know which part is traffic jam or not.
Yeah, I was
That's
going to
one.
ask you. The traffic would be an issue. Not here
Yeah.
in Tassie.
Yeah. That's one thing, right? That's why I become quote unquote addicted to them.
Yes.
But again, in the your workspace, in the way you work, like how many is many when using AI? That's
Yeah.
one thing.
Correct.
How are you going to I think you also mentioned something about like the blur lines between how we going to separate ourselves. This is our work, this
Yeah.
is AI work, right? And then also the risk comes with it, right? uh the risk of using AI is one thing, right? But the result of the AI itself, right? I mean, you want to claim it as a work, but then it's also part of the IP part, right?
Mm.
That's the other risk in using
Yeah.
AI.
Yeah.
And also the risk that is it your IP, your personal IP, but you're using AI from your company? You know what I mean?
We've had that conversation. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
it's
the
an awesome, I
conversation,
think it's a
right?
great, absolute great point. And I don't know yet. And maybe, I'd love to have an expert in the legal profession to,
Yeah.
and I think I look, that might even be a discussion that's evolving at the moment too, right?
Yes.
Like what does that look like? So when
Yeah.
who owns it too, right? Like in
Yeah.
that work construct. And I mean, that is
Yeah.
that's a great topic that maybe we could put a call out and see if there's anyone who's working in that space that could maybe provide some intel around it. Because, and again, I know that a lot of this is probably no doubt still evolving, right? Because you think you never have it nailed, right? Because you think, well, hang on, wait a minute, now that's come up, So it's an evolving piece. So I think that is really invaluable that you've raised, right? It's not just the technical consideration. It's the human use, the way in which who owns what, but how do they use that too, right? And where does it become? And I'm not, like I said, being negative, but you've got to think about it. Where can it be used in time, maybe, to mislead too, right? Like, so we have to think about this, right? We have to think about what, and this then comes back to, well, then what is the organisation recognising and rewarding? Because people play to that, right? Like people do things that will, of course, benefit them. So we are going down a rabbit hole here. We need to hold this rabbit hole because we've been nearly talking for 45 minutes. So we are not the last time we're talking about it. I want to come to the last risk for today before we wrap it up and then come back and talk about where to from here, right? Thank you. You've given me lots to certainly reflect on as well, Alvin. That's why I love having you here. So the last risk I want to flag today, and of course these are not the only ones, but these are some of the key ones, the top three that I want people to really think about, is the ability to attract talent in a time of brand reputational damage and how your reputation is playing out in the market. Yeah. So I think a lot of attention is given to marketing, but not a lot around reputational value and damage. And I think one of the greatest risks, and we're going to talk about, I always talk about the barbecue test. That is a test that, hey, what do your people say? Like, we have the barbecues here. There might be different ways in Indonesia that people come together to meet and share time and conversation. But the weekend barbecue test, right? So when people are around the barbecue, like we've got our massive AFL football grand final, 100,000 people will be at the MCG in Melbourne on Saturday. There'll be people that, are going to be having parties and gatherings around the country. When someone says to you, hey, Ali, how are you going working at fill in the blanks? What is the story that they will tell about you? Maybe about you, your business, right? Like, does that story, what is the narrative that is being spoken? And I think one of the, I do believe, and I think AI, again, I don't want to be banging on about it, but I think I'm going to talk specifically to it in a minute, but I do believe it's changing the risk around reputation for organisations as well too, right?
Yes, that's very true, because as much as I love to use AI, right? I mean, even it's in one of my channels now, as a capability leaders for APAC. In my current company, that how to optimize this AI use, right? But again, I have to think also about the impact of using the AI for my work. And then, like you said, one of them also, this is very important, and I think it's going to take like another or two podcasts about this, about how people will impact your brand out there, right? How people will see your company. And I love about that barbecue test. Anyway,
I've written about the barbecue test.
Because I love also barbecue. So
I know you do. I know you do, Albert. So you love eating barbecue, and you like the barbecue test.
So that's why it's very good. And it's about like, what are not only your current employees, but your previous employees, your ex-employees talking about you, right?
100%.
Because it's something like so this one interesting things about recruiters, or not recruiters, recruiters or headhunters that I experience. When they ask me for a recommendation for someone, right? They always ask this one question, right? Do you want to rehire this person if you have the chance?
Yes.
Because maybe this person put me as a recommendation for as their previous boss or the previous superior, right? And then this question always comes up. At first, maybe like 10 years ago, I didn't pay too much attention about it, because I haven't been manager too long, around 10 years ago, right? But now, when it always pops up, when someone asking my recommendation or background check for recommendations for this person, that question always comes up, and become interesting to me because it relates to your concerns, right? What people are talking about your companies, right? I mean, it's still there. I mean, we discussing about risk management. One of the risk management reputation damage, right? One of the result of the if you don't manage the risk carefully, because it's not only that you are losing talents, but you are losing talents, and that talent are saying some stuff about your
Yeah.
company. You know, I mean, is
100%.
that yeah, is that bad, right? Is that bad? And then because of that, you're not only losing talents, but you know, like I said in it first, you're not getting new talents. And it is even before the AI. But
Yes.
now with AI comes in, you either can mitigate it or you
Yes.
can instigate it more. So this is how you find the
Yes.
balance. There again, is technical, yes, right? Is security, is privacy, everything else about the AI, governance about the AI, yes. But also about how people have the feelings, how they're going to use their, like you mentioned, the capabilities and the,
Yes.
you know, uh and the resource they have, right? In using this AI.
Can I come back to that? I just want to, because it just
Sure, sure,
says to
sure,
this
sure,
point,
sure,
right?
sure,
Just
sure, sure.
absolutely. There's a couple of key risks that I'm saying that will impact negatively on reputation that I want
Yeah,
people to
yeah,
think about. Yeah. And
yeah.
so let's go through this. And they come to your point, right? So
Mm,
there's four key risks that I want to think about before we tie this particular video up today. And we'll come
yeah,
back.
yeah,
But the
yeah.
first one is a lack um, of fairness and equity in how opportunities are given.
Yes.
Okay, so if you want to put this is all you can do. If you want to get your people offside and have your reputation negatively impacted, do these things. So
Mm,
first one is that people don't feel that they have been given fair opportunity. Yeah,
yeah,
either for
yeah,
roles or
yeah,
development or
yeah,
exposure or network, whatever. Right,
yeah,
that's the
yeah.
first one. The other one is when they haven't been given the support, the resources, the
Yes, it.
capacity, the capability
That's
to
capability one.
perform the
Yes.
role, right? That's the next one. The other
Mm,
one is when we have poor communication around how AI
mm,
is going to be sold into the business. And then the
yes.
leader's inability or unwillingness to respond to ambiguity.
Ah,
Okay? Because people don't do well in ambiguity. And they
yes.
certainly don't do well when there's things that really could be spoken about and put to rest, but the leaders
Yeah,
choose not to. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So these are some of the four key risks that am seeing and have seen
yeah.
that are going to be particularly important for those that are responsible
Mm,
for determining the capacity and capability building in regards to AI, but
yes.
also the communications piece, how the
Yeah.
message and the method is being crafted. Yeah, how is that going to look? And I think that with the emergence of AI, we sometimes overlook the moral risk that can come with this as well too. Yeah,
Yeah.
around the decisions we make. And I actually do think that, as you said, this is about future talent. Whether or not, why would they choose you? Why
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
Your current employees around their own state and how they view
Yeah.
their own identity and
Yeah.
what stories they tell. And of
Yeah.
course, then your ex-employees as well that are out there now,
Mm,
meeting new people, building new networks, new communities. What stories do they tell as
yeah.
well?
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's I really love. Okay, so how you summarize that in the 4 points, right?
yeah,
Because they are critical and they all link to each other. Yeah,
100%.
yeah, they
Yep.
don't stand alone, right? In these
No,
4 points, right?
no.
I mean, they all link to each other, right? It's like a
Yeah,
web.
yeah, they do. You can see so when we're thinking about it too,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
we've got to
yeah.
think of it as a connected ecosystem.
Yes,
So,
yes.
Albert, this isn't going to be the last video. It never is because every time
Sure,
we meet,
sure.
we're like, oh, more,
Sure.
more, more, more. But we want to connect them. We want to break them down into manageable parts. And there is a lot in this. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, there is a piece I was going to talk about today, but I'm going to hold that over until the next video as well
yeah,
because I'm mindful
yeah,
of time. But it'll go there. So,
yeah.
before we are going to come together. So what we're going to do next time is we're going to talk about, well, whose responsibility is it if we want people to embrace a different perspective around risk, what actually needs to happen from a
Yes,
practical perspective, right? So we'll
yes.
talk about that. I want to hold that over because that will fit nicely into the next piece. And then I'm going to
Yes.
take the community through Kickstart's proven approach to getting people to think and do different with risk, right? And take
Nice.
them through
Nice.
the innovation capability review, which is really like a risk assessment, but on more creative steroids and holistic steroids. So that's where we're going to go for the second interview, second discussion that we have. Yeah. So before we do that,
Yeah.
final thoughts and takeaways. I've enjoyed always having you here. As I said, you
Okay.
give me as much to think about, as hopefully I do. But what would you say if you could give, one or two takeaways that you really want people to think about as they
Mm.
leave here today? What would that be?
Yeah, so since we're discussing about risk management now, then I have to mention that risk is everybody's responsibilities,
100%.
right? It's not only in certain departments, certain division. For sure, it's not only in the HR or in the risk management division or legal division or compliance division. No,
No.
it's everybody business and in every level, not only
Yes.
top management, right?
100%.
Because there are several levels of risk, like the daily usage, your daily work, that's level 1, your strategic work, that's level 2, and the highest level is the unknown. I think it's called the unknown risk. And because of that, you have to manage in all levels of the
Yes.
employees, right, in the
Yes.
organizations. I mean, this is something that again needs to be reiterated again and again.
Yep.
So yeah, like we said in the first, right, it's not a sexy topic,
No.
but it's critical topic.
And I hope people know that
Yeah,
even at the end of this,
yeah,
series of discussions that
yeah,
people get it. So I think you make a great point around
yeah,
that it's everyone's responsibility because there's
yeah,
different types of risk and people will see things that others don't just because of
yes,
the exposure and their daily
yes,
engagements and interactions
yes.
as well. Anything else you want to add?
Uh, yeah. Okay, I want to say this, but it seems like I'm bragging, but I'm not. I'm sorry. Okay.
Go for it. Go. Don't even apologize. You put it out
Yeah.
there.
My
Put
next
it
one
out
is
there.
like, please upscale your change management capabilities in the organizations,
Mm,
right? Internal capabilities of change management is important. Of course, you can always bring the advisors like me to your
yeah.
company, to your organization,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
internally, you also have at least the basic ones for change management
100%.
because managing change is also there intrinsically. They're also managing your risk.
Yes.
That's why it's number 1 and number 2, I think, right? In the 15 of skills. So yeah, I think
Thank
that's
you.
my closing
Yeah,
remarks.
no, very true. And I think too, just on that before we wrap it up,
Hmm.
to actually, just to your point, start building capability within yourself and start
Yes.
building capability within your teams. Yep. And
Yeah.
people know if you want to find us, you'll find us, and both of us on LinkedIn as well. And our details will be in the post. So you can find
Hmm.
us there if you're saying, you know what, I do want to do this and I don't know where to start. We are there to make that a reality for
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
and to take the risk out, de-risk the risk of the risk, right? So,
Yeah.
and I think, as I said, teams need to own that, not always, not the experts, right? We're there to facilitate that. But once you know this, you have it, right? No one can take it away
Yes.
from you. So it
Yes.
is an investment and it's the gift that keeps giving because our risks are only going to get more complex and shorter time frames between the next ones, emerging. So, yeah, invest in this gift for yourself and your team. So, but next video, we're going to dive into more of that as well, which will be great. So,
Yes.
Albert, thank you for joining me from nice, humid, hot Indonesia. Please come and join us on LinkedIn. We'd love to meet you if we
Sure.
don't know you
Sure.
already. And if we haven't engaged before, please connect on in and let's start some real human to
Sure.
human deep discussion
Yeah.
around
Yeah.
these topics because
Yeah.
they can really bring, like I said, exponential difference when we know how.
For
So
sure. For
again,
sure.
everyone, thank you for being here. Thank you, Albert.
Thank you all.
Bye.